All right, let's talk about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is obviously the second best team in college football. They're runner-ups last season. Again, they're falling under the radar. I don't get why. And I think a big part of that is just because they're steady, consistent, and good. And it starts with the head man, Marcus Freeman, at the top of this program. And he has quietly made one of the smartest moves I've seen any program make over the course of the last really handful of years. This is great news for the Fighting Irish. We'll get into the details of this, plus some interesting data on the other side. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, one of the secret sauces for Notre Dame, everyone talks about player development, and that's critical, and coaching. That's obviously critical, is that they have been a really steady and growing recruiting powerhouse with a lot of great strategies and different approaches. We've seen that, of course, with Chad Bowden, who then went on to leave to go to USC. USC gave him reportedly a lot of money to try and fix that program out west. And as big as Bowden was for Notre Dame, the secret sauce was, like I mentioned in the intro there, Freeman running the show. And we got an interesting article that came out recently highlighting a lot of those points. We'll go ahead and talk about that now. It's a long article or a long piece we're going to throw on the screen. I'll just skim through the high points here. Then we'll get to some great data. This is courtesy of Irish Sports Daily. You adapt or fall behind the world of college football in the world of college football recruiting. Notre Dame has thrived under the leadership of Freeman over the past 3 seasons, and momentum doesn't appear to be slowing down. The Irish currently have the number 2 recruiting class with several highly coveted prospects set to take official visits to South Bend in the coming weeks. One of Freeman's slight adjustments this cycle has been expanding the role of graduate assistants and analysts in the recruiting process. It's an extremely collaborative effort in each recruitment, which is a change from the previous strategy that saw former general manager Chad Bowden take a significant role in nearly every recruitment. Graduate assistants and analysts are often eager to prove themselves in any area of the program, and recruiting gives them a meaningful opportunity to do just that. For instance, defensive analyst Javon Codlin was known for his recruiting chops during a stint at West Virginia. Goes on to list a few other key guys as well on the article. So what Coach Freeman is doing here, this is sort of innovative stuff. A lot of times when it comes to recruiting, and this was back when I was being recruited, I was small-time college football D1 AA. We're talking years ago. So I'm not trying to, I was nowhere near Notre Dame, not even remotely close. Wasn't nearly good enough. But this was true then, and it's true now. Generally what happens is you have the head coach comes in late for a big recruit. And before that, you've got coordinators and position coaches, right? The O-line coach may recruit an area or may recruit an offensive lineman. A linebacker coach may recruit linebackers, or he may have a specific area of the country, right? That's generally how it works. The graduate assistants, they're basically intern levels. They're unpaid. They're doing grunt work. The analysts are doing grunt work. They almost have never done anything recruiting. Never. They're too busy, cutting up film tape and all that kind of stuff and doing, the grunt work for the offense and defensive coordinators and the head coach. They're spending almost no time boots on the ground recruiting. Notre Dame is taking a different approach, right? They're bringing out these guys to go out and do a lot of individual recruiting. One of the reasons why is obviously the age similarities. Graduate assistants and analysts are usually right out of school, right out of playing days. If they played ball, they're in their early to mid 20s, whereas you got offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and head coaches, which can be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, sometimes 70s. So these analysts and GAs can basically communicate and talk at a very similar level as these high school kids. So basically the GAs sell the kid, graduate assistants sell the kid, and then you have the head coach and the coordinators sell the parent. And that has done incredible job. That has been an incredible job in terms of recruiting for Notre Dame over the past couple seasons. But this is part of a larger trend with Coach Freeman. What he has done as a recruiter has gone very unnoticed. In fact, we have a graphic we want to pull up on the screen here. This is very interesting stuff. So what we've got is Notre Dame's recruiting score, courtesy of 24/7 Sports, going back to 2016 through 2025. And you can see from 2016 to 2020, right up to that red dash, basically about level. They had that one spike in 2018, but it's pretty consistent. The red dash, everything to the right of that is after they hired Coach Freeman, first, of course, as a defensive coordinator, and then that arrow is when he became the head coach. And what do you notice happened when they brought Freeman on board, and certainly when they named him the head coach after Kelly left? Massive recruiting spike and then stability, right? They had that big spike in 2018 with Kelly, but that was the aberration. 16, 17, 19 and 20 was all around the same ballpark, right around that 250 score. Freeman comes in and then becomes the head coach. Suddenly they're stable, right around that 270, 275 year in and year out. This is a massive step function improvement. And Coach Kelly, was not a bad recruiter at all. Like, he's a really good recruiter. So it's not like he was a terrible recruiter and they just fixed it. Coach Freeman has taken it to a whole nother level and is with innovative approaches, getting GAs involved, getting the analysts involved, like I mentioned, and that the article reported on. This is one of the main reasons why Notre Dame continues to be a national powerhouse. They're obviously phenomenal at player development. They're the best in the country at doing it. I think that's undeniable. Great coaching staff that pairs with it. Obviously, great program infrastructure overall. But what they've done, and from a recruiting perspective, from former coaches, specifically Coach Kelly to Coach Freeman, has slid under the radar. A lot of credit has to be given Marcus Freeman. He has very quietly turned Notre Dame into a recruiting juggernaut, along with being the best developmental program in the entire college football world. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, Irish fans, in the comment section below, obviously we know all the matchups. We know the upcoming games for this Fighting Irish squad, getting ready for the 2025 season. It is getting close. I know it's, May, June timeframe by the time you're watching this video, but it feels like football is almost back. And to that point, what is one game, one matchup you're looking forward to this season more than any other? There's a lot of really great ones. Maybe you're going to see this game in person, home or away. Maybe it's a rivalry game. Whatever it is, give us the one Notre Dame game that you're looking forward to this season more than any other. Put it in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on everything Marcus Freeman is doing in terms of recruiting specifically for this Fighting Irish program?
Yeah, Nate, I think what you say is the consistency and what he brings to the table as far as his approach to recruiting and just giving stability. That's what got Notre Dame to where they are now. This is a team that unfortunately runners up, but still, that's an incredible season. Second in the nation, one of the best teams in the country. You made it to the national championship game. Notre Dame is doing really, really great stuff. And I think when you look at what this team does as far as the recruiting, you look at this graph and shows the stability, but you can look at the rankings. In the last few years, they've been 10, 12, 12, 10, somewhere in the top 10 ish rankings for recruiting the last few years under Coach Freeman. And I think we've seen what that can do when you are consistent, you're still in that top 10 recruiting all the time. And then all of a sudden, you kind of explode. You see what they do. Performance on the field explodes. Get to the national championship game. And then when you do that, how does that affect you? You have to keep compounding, keep moving those things forward. 2026 isn't on the graph, but when you see what they're doing in 2026 so far, it is very early in the cycle, but so far, they're number 2 in the recruiting rankings. That's what we're seeing out of Coach Freeman. He had a system. He was consistent. He grinds. They're top 10, top 12 type of team over the last few years. They're grinding. They're getting the base in. They're doing really well. When you think of Notre Dame football, I think of a team that has superior depth to a lot of teams. From player to player, from first to second string, there isn't as big of a drop off as some other teams. Southern Cal, the team that's number 1 right now, I think they have a lot of talented athletes, but I think from their first string to their second string, there's a pretty big drop off. That's why Notre Dame this offseason in spring ball and all of this camp and everything early during going into summer, what you're hearing about is the quarterback battle. And you heard the latest report, Marcus Freeman saying, well, maybe we have a 2 quarterback system. Why? Because you have 2 guys that are talented, 2 guys that bring 2 different things to the table. I don't think that's what they're going. I think it's just a flyby comment that, hey, these 2 guys bring something really interesting to the table. But that's the key. The depth here that they've built has allowed this team to have the stability, be really good across the board. And now, once they got the success on the field, I think we're going to see something explode. I think 2026, we're already seeing it. They're number 2 in the country in recruiting so far, but that's the force multiplier. They're able to be consistent, install this strategy, getting the GAs out there, getting these guys out there to help give a more stable recruiting ranking, get really quality guys in here, sell the players, have their coaches sell the parents. That is a really brilliant strategy, and I think it's brought them a lot of success here to now help get that success, springboard it, and I think in the next few years, we're going to start to see them not be in the 10 to 12s, start to see them being in the top 5 and number 2 like they are now. I think we're going to see a lot of recruiting success because Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, this strategy he has built a strong base and allowed this team to become consistent, have really good depth, and now they're going to use that success on the field to be really, really good recruiters as well.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the quote, right? If you do what everyone else does, you will be mediocre just like everybody else, right? There's a lot of programs that recruit, they've got the big names and they get those recruiting rankings, they, 9, 12, 13, that spot that you mentioned, right? But they don't win nearly as much as Notre Dame. They don't have a season like Notre Dame had last season, right? And they don't, really observe this leap in recruiting like you mentioned. They're currently second in the 2026 class. It's because I'm going to keep going back to this because I think it's really important. Coach Freeman has made one of the, or really a bunch of really, really smart, innovative moves. And when we think about innovators in the world of football, we always focus on, well, what are your X's and O's? Did you come with some new formation? And that matters, but that's in the short term, right? Because if you come up with a new player, new strategy, teams get film on it and then they beat you, right? But if you have an innovator's mindset and you're always looking for ways to improve your system and improve your process to get better results, whether it's on the field or whether it's with recruiting or transfers or whatever it may be, if you have that mindset, which Coach Freeman obviously does, the results will follow. You'll be ahead of the game. You won't be reactive. You'll be proactive. You won't be seeing what the good teams are doing and trying to copy it. You'll see big programs, and we saw this already with USC, try to copy you. And the reality is copiers, they'll get some improvement, but they will never be as good as the original. We've seen that time and time and time again. And Coach Freeman is the prototypical example of the original. He is ahead of the curve with everything that he does. It sounds so obvious. It's like, why wouldn't you involve GAs and analysts in recruiting? But nobody does it. He's ahead of the curve. We see the results on the data. This Notre Dame Fighting Irish squad, they were kind of viewed a little bit as a Cinderella story. I think no one really expected them to go all the way to the national title game. But I don't think they're a Cinderella. I think they are clearly one of the top 3, 4, 5 programs in all of college football, and it starts with the head man at the top running this program.